Welcome to Shut Up and Sit. I'm Yedda Stansel, a consciousness coach and consultant. I'm on a mission to bring mindfulness to the modern world. Each week, we will offer ancient healing practices, real-world examples, and the latest research in neurobiology and behavior change into fun conversation that invites you to wake up your highest self. Now, let's go shut up and sit. Awesome. Welcome back, everybody, to the show. Yedda here, as always. You know the deal by now. We're 40 plus episodes in. And as always, I'm excited, so excited to be here. And every time I feel like I say, but this time I'm more excited. Today I am wicked, super over the top excited because I am here with Stephanie. How are you, Stephanie?
I'm wonderful.
Welcome.
How are you?
Oh, man. I am fantastic. I look fabulous because Stephanie is the reason that when I get on camera that I look the way that I do. She has so much wisdom and so much knowledge and power. Stephanie does my hair every friggin' week.
Yes.
And
sometimes multiple times a week.
Yeah, you do. And I got to tell you, you're looking fabulous today.
Well, thank you.
And we were just talking before the show, you guys, that I'm always sitting. Stephanie goes, well, do you want to do the show with you sitting in front of me? So then it can be like when we're in the chair, because we're so used to talking like this. Like you should be behind me and we should be in the mirror. And so today it is great for us to literally and figuratively be sitting side by side with our wisdom, our knowledge, all that we have to share on the show. And you've been on this journey with me all the way through.
All the way.
Yeah.
Like this time last year, this was still in conceptual production.
Yeah. Oh, I would literally go in, you all, and sit in the chair. And you know this enough if you've been reading the book by now, that physical touch for me, and way back when, and Stephanie knows this too, of being a baby and when my mom was really young and being in that kind of government subsidized housing and that lack and that poverty mindset. So, my mom would bathe and wash and clean me and over and over and over again and dress me like a baby doll. And I've always loved physical touch. And one of the things I love more than anything is getting my hair washed and blow dried. It's therapy, seriously. And we have talked about this because I do have a lot of friends who are like, no, Yedda, you just told me you go once or twice a week to get your hair washed and blow dried. Yes, and I give up things. I go without things, meaning I don't get into all the other trappings that some, if you like your nails done and you like all the other stuff, that's fine. But the one thing for me is it is therapy. I mean, I consider not just the act of you washing and blow drying my hair and making me look good, because everywhere I go when I get a blowout, people are like, your hair is beautiful. And I'm like, it's Stephanie. And if you'd like her name and number, I will give it to you. And yes, of course, I'm attached to my hair. We all know that. Let's just put that on the table. But it's a deeper place of that touch and that kind of somatic experience of going back to a place that when we had no safety, the safety I had was my mom bathing me, cleaning me. And so I really made that connection in this work. And you all, if you've read the book and you've been with me in the beginning, you'll go through and you'll see that story. But if you haven't, the space for me is the physical touch, but also we talk every time I get in the chair.
Yeah.
And I actually think hairdressers need to just tell people they're therapist.
Well, in our world, it's called therapy, but it's THAIRAPY.
I love that, therapy.
And
I'm in therapy with an AI.
Part of our environment in the salon is we're breaking that bubble that we keep around us when we talk to people we don't know. We don't sit this close or touch people that we don't know that well.
Yeah.
So when you go to the hairdresser for the first time, you're sitting in their chair, and the first thing I'm doing is putting my hands on your head, one of the most intimate parts of your body. Because if you think about it, who do you let touch your head?
Yeah.
It's a short list.
Yeah.
And
well, I don't know. I might be a little bit of a hair slut because I let a lot of people touch my head. I'm like, you want to touch my head? You want to touch my head?
It's soft. My hair is great. But when you think about how out in the world, the first time that you meet someone, generally we do not.
No.
So it's touch therapy.
Yeah.
One of my, great gurus of hairdressing, Robert Cromines, he says we have a license to touch.
Oh, I love that.
And touch is powerful. Physical touch is my love language.
Yeah, good.
It's
my
mine
number
too.
one. That's why we
language.
get along so well. Yeah.
And so it helps me do what I do.
Yeah.
Because hugging is part of how I love people. Touching, restorative touch. helping people heal from traumatic hair instances.
Yeah.
All comes
That's not
down
easy
to some
to
of that
hide.
touch.
Yeah. People, and I know you've seen some over your years of doing this, and and in the years that we've been working together, it was a couple of years ago when I moved into my new townhouse, and kind of the journey for me, you all, as I did this work, the environment eventually changes for all of us, as you know, when you go into a different level of belief system, and you want new patterns and new ways. And so, ending a 20-year marriage, sending my son off to college, the next place for me was, I think I'm ready to let go of the physical environment of all the stories and energy of a lot of beautiful memories, but leaving that home and then moving to the new townhouse. And your salon is in our little built neighborhood, which I love. And I remember coming in, and so this idea of, I'd been doing my hair, getting it blow dried before, and you know the story with Garrigan at another salon, and then he and I lost touch, and then I realized he worked there. And then you and I ended up getting in connection. And so I've been sitting in your chair for once or twice a week now for a couple of years. Okay. And I want you guys to hear that. And so the reason why is because when I first went in and started talking about what I did, the book wasn't even, I think maybe I was getting to the point of the spiral, which I keep here on the counter, you guys. My first rough draft of this book literally was like the old school, corporate training manual. And I think I was on this version of it, and I keep it here because it opens really nicely and it's laid flat. But the evolution of going from the idea of what I did with clients to creating the book, and then the workbook, and then the actual book, and now the course, it's been an evolution. But you've been listening to all of this the entire time. And you have so much wisdom and so much knowledge that you would impart in asking questions and sharing. And even your words of wisdom were a part of the journey and have been in all of this creation, not just on the exterior, because yes, you always make my hair look good. And then even like coming in and filming videos, and I'll come in and I'll say, well, what do you think? Should I wear this? And what does that look like? And so you do have that ability to offer discernment and wisdom on the outer trappings, but you offer a lot of wisdom to clients on the inner working.
It's 15 years of getting to know people as my profession. And I think that that's something that we can all use, no matter what your, profession is. Getting to know people and going beyond the surface, small talk. That's where we excel in creating community and relationships.
Yeah.
And in my chair, in my profession, creating relationships is what it's all about. From a business standpoint, you want a loyal clientele who are repeat customers, and that requires developing relationship.
Yeah. And our relationship, I loved as it evolved and we developed a connection. And I remember coming in one time, and when talking about what I do, but I said, so Stephanie, if I gave you a copy of the book, would you read it? And at the time when I asked you to do that, all of my client work, and you all that are watching and listening, was based on people who were coming to me asking for my help. And so where we're at, where we film, where we're sitting today, clients would come into this space, or I would go to their office. So that work for me in that world was always on a referral basis. And the people that were coming to me were already asking, and either they were hungry or something was broken or needed fixing. And so when we started talking and I asked you to read the book, I was in the curiosity from our conversations of, okay, well, instead of me drawing people into this work and only working with a few handful of people, the idea from our conversations started to inspire me to say, can you read the book? If you have no idea of what it's like to work with me, or you don't know any of my teachings, what would it be like for somebody to just pick the book up and start reading it, and then allow me to put information out in a different way? And there was a lot of feedback that you gave me as you started going into the work. And so I'm curious, I brought you in today on the gratitude chapter because I'm so grateful for my hair. And now that I know you're a therapist, I think you need business cards that have therapist in quotations that's spelled with the HAIR in the middle. And now I can say I go to therapy twice a week with Stephanie. I don't have to say I'm getting a blowout or getting a haircut or trying to justify. And then people look at me like, wait, didn't you just say 2 days ago you just went? Yes, I did. Yes, I did.
And I'm going again.
And some weeks I might try to make it 3 times just because it's been a hard week and I just need a little more love.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So you know what? I'm okay that I get therapy. And now I feel even better about my therapy than I ever did before. Thank you. I am so grateful.
Welcome. You're welcome.
Free. I am free of self-judgment around my hair. So I brought you in on the gratitude chapter, which, yes, it's at the end of the book, you guys. So we've worked our way all the way through. And today we're talking about the 20 ways to practice gratitude. And Stephanie's going to share some of her wisdom. And you guys will get to learn as if you were sitting in her own therapy chair. But before we jump into this whole idea of ways to practice gratitude, and I did have to find out for myself, but also for my clients, we have to learn that. You have to teach people. People would be like, what do you mean there's ways to practice? Yeah, there's tons of ways to practice gratitude. But my gratitude today is in expressing deep thanks for you to say, sure, I'll read the book. I'll take a look at what you've got going on. So when you first got that moment, you might have said yes just because you were being nice and you were like, I do want her to keep coming back. What was that like for you? I mean, what's your story? Have you done any personal development work before doing this?
I haven't really. I've never been, quote unquote, a fan of self-help, things like that, because... And getting to know you, I understand why now, but in those first days, you're just reading a memoir of somebody else's journey. And there's not a lot of practical tips. There's not a lot of, okay, how do I put this into practice? It's kind of vague, and it's not very specific, and it's not helpful when it doesn't give you a way to move forward. And so, my experiences with different types of self-help books or content creators, anything like that, it has always just been like left me lacking.
Yeah. Thinking, and this is, and we've talked about this before, but, I'm going to put the words out there, great, you did it. And it's awesome that you were able to do it, but I can't do that.
Right.
Yeah.
And because it's very specific to them. And, what I've initially really enjoyed about your book is not only is it a little bit more specific in like, all right, sit down, write these things out, think about them, think about this point. How does that affect you? Your illustration of going back and talking to your young, traumatized self and telling her she's safe, and like, how are you turning those experiences from trauma into productive information? Very helpful. And that journey is different for everybody. And that's the journey of gratitude, and seeing all those influences in your life that you need to be grateful for. And then all of the other influences in your life that you take for granted every day that you are grateful for, but just become so routine and so part of your background and your makeup that you don't consciously act grateful for them or speak your gratitude to those people. Yeah. So I think it's a very practical approach to getting through the journey of your life and self-discovery, and how that informs your future and how your past, works into that. And while you may regret certain things in your past or wish you didn't have to go through them, how do you turn them into useful information?
Yeah, and that's a space that, I just love listening to you. And part of me, my gratitude, just kind of my heart, just going, wow, that was the space I was in too. Was this great? It worked for you. You walked on hot coals. That was awesome. Well, I did that. Guess what? My feet are just really friggin' burned. So It didn't help me, because we can't do what other people do to heal, because their story and their wounds are theirs and they're unique to them. And so this deeper dive for me, and I really was, you all, I was like, either I'm onto something or I'm just batshit crazy here, but I'm gonna just put it together and start teaching it to people, because it worked. And I thought, well, it worked for me, but what was different? And I love that you're helping me and kind of mirroring back and saying, I could see myself in the work, not just you, Yedda.
Right.
Or you, guru, or you, teacher. And I put a lot of people in the work here. And as you've gone through it, and as you all see this and you're working through, like you said, there's right brain exercises of self-reflection and self-inquiry. And then there's left brain. Did you know? Thoughts lead to feelings. Feelings drive behavior. And so in the behavioral change world, we just typically focus on just change the behavior. Well, it doesn't work. Why doesn't
Right.
it? Because there's so much other science there underneath. And the whole title of shutting up and sitting, and, you know, I was talking to another client earlier about the language of punishment. And so when we're told to play it safe, shut up, disappear, nobody wants to hear what you have to say, and we've been forced into silence, it's not an easy thing to want to step into, going into that silent space within and
Right.
really doing the work. And I thought, well, why don't we just rewrite that narrative? Why don't we say, hey, you know what? I realized I know how to shut up and sit down. I've been told to do it my whole life.
Yeah.
And that's that trauma, no matter who we are or where we are, the trauma and drama that we've been through is our superhero power to go back in and do the work to bring it all back together.
Absolutely.
And so as you go through the book, and you've been doing that, we get in the chair every week, and sometimes we laugh and chit chat and talk, and I tell her ridiculous stuff, or sometimes we get into serious conversation. But the other thing that I love is in this work, and you know I say this a lot, and I want everybody watching and listening to hear this, we all have wisdom. Every single person has wisdom that they can offer the world. It's not just for the rich. It's not just for the famous. It's not just for the attractive and the fit. And you can go down the list of these ideals that our ego says, well, you don't matter if you're not that.
Right.
And so I love that this work is, we all have wisdom. And so you and I have joked about this. Now, I would love to have Matthew McConaughey on the show. So let me give you this precursor. I'm not saying I am against famous people, and Brad Pitt. If you are listening or watching, I will welcome you any day of the week into the show. Yes. Now, with that being said, I remember in the chair, I said, you know, what would it be like if we just started having people, clients included, but what if people who are doing the work could come down and share their wisdom on the show and be a part of the experience? And that was a fun space for you and I to get into, because I really do believe that we all have wisdom.
Absolutely.
And I know you believe that, because when I hear you in the chair, you have so many nuggets, and I'm like, gosh, that'd be really great. You should come teach on that. You should talk about that. And then I thought, well, I'm going to ask her. You should come be on the show. And so I love that you're here. And so this journey of wisdom for you, as you started to go through the book and the work in this personal development space, can you notice anything that you want to share that has begun to shift for you, or that might be showing up differently for you as a result of kind of shutting up and sitting down and going within and doing that inquiry?
I think it's just looking for a deeper observation. You know, I'm one where I can kind of take in the whole scene, but I may miss some of the little details when I'm observing. And so I have to train my intuition.
You don't miss the details on my hair, though, right?
No,
You're good on my hair.
no.
Okay.
I'm talking about like when I'm needing to pay attention to multiple things at one time. You know, I was diagnosed with attention deficit with hyperactivity disorder when I was 6 years old. And I spent age 6 to 18 medicated for that. And with the help of my mom and our doctors, you know, I eventually got off that medicine because I had to learn how my brain worked. And that's what I feel like I'm doing with this, is I'm having to retrain how I've learned to observe people, to be sensitive to people, to understand where people are coming from, and not reacting in such a hot way because I've been personally offended sometimes. Mm-hmm. And, you know, I'm of Scottish, you know, background, a little sprinkle of German, but mostly Scottish. And we have a temper, you know, and I have to learn that my temper's not always warranted.
Yeah.
I can't go into defensive or attack mode every time something I believe is challenged. And so I think that that's what's helped me to shut up and sit, is how to regulate my reactions. Mm-hmm. And that's everything from how I deal with clients, my husband, family, friends. You know, it's a journey of discovering how to meet people where they are without any like spice.
Yeah.
You know, in my tongue or in my reaction, or constantly just going to believe this one little thing that pops up in my head, like, oh, it must be X, Y, and Z, and so I'm writing you off.
And so that shutting up and sitting, what I'm hearing you say, is giving you a little bit of space and freedom on that responsiveness of choice of how you show up. And I can't imagine. I mean, I'm in awe and envy. I would never want to be responsible for someone's hair. It would be a bad decision. They would come in and they would hunt me down and kill me in the parking lot because I would not be able to A, do it, B, handle when people come in this intimate space. If you screw it up or mess it up, you get a little bit of heat and spice coming at you.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And, you have to have humility because the way that people perceive themselves and how they're presenting themselves to the world is of huge importance to some people. And
like me.
Like Yedda. But it's important. And I, in 1 minute, or 1 hour of your time over the course of 6 weeks, generally, am influencing that. And then you're going to have to go home and look at it every other day between now and your next appointment. So keeping those lines of communication open, setting up a situation where people don't feel like they can't bring you feedback that might be critical is important. And I'm a human being. I'm going to make mistakes. How I approach repairing that mistake says everything about my character and my integrity in my profession, and less about the fact that I'm perfectionist and everything's going to be perfect every single time.
Yeah.
And I think we lose some of that knowledge with people in different aspects of the services that we receive and things like that. And, we expect, our waitress to bring the perfect order that we place every single time, when really she's not in charge of the whole situation. Yeah. So I think that's what's important to me is maintaining humility, maintaining gratitude for the fact that this person is sitting in my chair, that they're coming back over and over, established trust. Gratitude is part of that. Mm-hmm. It is the very vein of everything that I do, because if I'm not grateful for you, then you're expendable.
Yeah. And that's a deep, that was a mic drop moment for a second. Say that again.
If I'm not grateful for you, then you're expendable.
Yeah. And that's the premise of the whole issue of what I think is going on in the world right now is we see each other as expendable.
Yeah.
And that gratitude, that place, people want to they want to feel like they're seen, heard, valued, included, that they matter.
Right.
And being raised with that belief system that I'm enough, right here, right now, as I am, as are you. And then we see that we need each other. Mm-hmm. We are human beings. You've heard me say that. It's in the book, not human doings. If we were human doings, I would have put that in the book. We are human beings. Yeah. And reminding ourselves on both sides of the equation, so whether it's the provider, the customer, or vice versa, is holding space that we are not expendable. We matter. And how we show up and speak to each other matters.
Absolutely.
And so this work, and so, you're talking about, well, you come in the chair and then 6 weeks later I get to influence you. And I'm like, well, Stephanie has a lot of influence and power on me because I'm in the chair a couple times a week. And I love that because I learn from everybody that I work with. And that's what I'm also wanting to impart in this work. And what I'm grateful for as I started hearing and putting this together was, wait a minute, not only are we solving a problem that I don't want to be like you and you don't want to be like me in your way to come to your truth, because you can't. We all have our own unique human experiences. You know that in the book early on, the 4 components of being human, I teach on that. But when we get into a place of health and healing, it is our uniquenesses and our differences that actually create our connectedness and allow us to say, just like me, you have insecurities and fears and doubts and wonders and worries, as do I. And that's the space that says, if I make you expendable, I'm saying I'm expendable. Mm-hmm. And if we can heal that, and that's why I love this shut up and sit work of being grateful to have a few minutes to go within. And if I can learn to really love myself, you've heard me say this, and Stephanie hears, I'm like, well, I'm thinking about this tagline. And what do you think about, I mean, I come in and you're like you're the ongoing focus group of all these things. And you've heard me play around with this, but one of the things that, and I am grateful for that sounding board, was, this whole idea, I think if you remember, I brought in, I'm like, say I do to you, be the love of your own life. And we kind of laughed and chatted about that. But I thought, isn't that true? Mm-hmm. We place the expectation out on the world for everybody else to be grateful for us. And yet, how much gratitude are we offering out? And the truth is, we bring the gratitude out first, and from the overflow, it is mirrored back to us.
Yeah.
And that's what makes this work different. And what makes this work different that I love is this applies to everybody. This is humanity type of teaching. And that's why I love you all. I've brought lots of different people in on this work and this journey. I don't care if you're male, female, black, white, if you run a company, if you clean the streets. It doesn't matter where you are on the spectrum. You matter because you're a human being. And this work applies because we're talking about the core component of what makes you who you are and builds your belief systems. And if some of them aren't serving you, you get to go in, like you said, and look back and tap back into that younger self and say, oh, here's how I find her, and bring her back up into the adult world.
Right.
And gratitude is not something that people think of to use in the adult world. Mm-mm. And I love you're such a representation of that because you are always so grateful, so accommodating, so willing, and you practice it literally and figuratively every single day. You do. And I watch this, I see this. And that's why I thought about, I want to have Stephanie come on the show. Not only because I think if you guys want to get your hair done and you live in Richmond, you can connect with her and we'll put her link because I get a lot of compliments. I literally do on my hair. And I remember one time we were talking about this and when I met you, I had been coloring my hair for years and then I stopped coloring it. And I said, I'm letting it all grow out. And I said, I just want to practice acceptance. So as vain as I am, okay, let me be really honest. I love cute clothes, cute shoes. I love getting my hair washed. But it's because I've been treated like a baby doll when I was a baby. So I get that now. And I'm like, when I feel the need to get a little more pampering, my first go-to is what's going on inside of me that wants a little more love? Mm-hmm. And I can still go do those things, but I'm holding both where I understand I got to meet my own needs first. And then I can go get in the chair with Stephanie. And yes, she can give me the other piece. But this whole piece of why I bring this up is just tying together the experiences of us just being human beings. Mm-hmm. We're all on the journey. We all matter. We all have wisdom. But this place of gratitude is so deep and profound that it's so simple, but it's so complex for so many people. Yeah. And so I'm curious as we are kind of teaching and talking to you all today about gratitude, and I've got so many things to think about. And my hair, back to my hair. This is what I want to say, because now I was thinking about how you talked to me about my hair. And I said, I just want to be in a place of acceptance, to be grateful that I have hair, to be grateful it is going gray. Okay, no big deal. Is it gray or is it silver? What would you call it? Or is it white?
It's more silver than gray.
Okay, so I'm going silver. So I'm going silver, okay. And so maybe I'm going platinum.
There you go.
Platinum feels really good. And so we're having this conversation about acceptance, and I thought if I'm teaching people the work and I'm teaching everybody to hold space for both and, meaning you can still be cute, you can still get your hair done, you can still live a normal, ordinary life. You don't have to get rid of all of the world's trappings in order to find the freedom, but you learn that it doesn't define you and you can hold it a little looser. And so I thought, well, what I'm really willing to let go of, Stephanie, is I'm going to stop coloring my hair. Still going to get you to blow it out. And that acceptance space, which I think is so fascinating, the years, and I told you this, that I spent coloring my hair, sitting in the chair, doing all these things, and the time, energy, and money to look good for the world. I never got one compliment on my hair. Mm-mm. Not one. And not that I was going out to look for it, but nobody came up and said, oh my God, I love your hair. And when we started doing the difference where I said, and you said, look, I'm going to let you grow it out. You're going to do the natural and we're just going to let it be its thing. I have on a daily basis, and I'm not kidding. And it's not why I don't color my hair. People come up to me on a daily basis and they give me a compliment because they say, I love your hair. Now, of course, there's a blowout involved. I get that. But the actual, and I look at them and I say, because it's called acceptance. And it's the color they talk about too. Yeah. They're like, who did your highlights? And I'm like, girl, these are not highlights. This is earned, every one of them.
If I could do highlights like that, I'd be charging way more.
But isn't it funny? And we laughed about this, how much time and energy we spend trying to be something different.
Absolutely.
When what's inside of us that's trying to come out is far more beautiful.
Absolutely.
And so that's, for me, is the reminder. I look in the mirror, and you know this too, we laugh. I have had two horrific, horrible nightmares in recent years, and it is that Stephanie colored my hair while I was asleep. And I come in and tell her that, and she's like, if that's the worst thing you've got going on in your life yet, I want some of what you've got.
Yeah.
And I said, but no, now it's a representation of who I am is allowed to come out, and I'm accepting it. And I'm sliding into acceptance. I still have a little heel that I dig in every now and then. But that was important for me in this work, was to balance out giving everybody permission. And you and I talked about social media influencers, mm-hmm. and how social media is not really promoting gratitude, it's promoting ego. Mm-hmm. And I said, as I go into this work, Stephanie, hold me accountable. It's a balance of, yes, I want to look presentable and have discernment, but I also don't want it to be all about the looks.
Right.
And as women, when we see media and we see marketing and opportunities to go into personal development, a lot of our belief systems are structured on using your appearance to get people to come into your world and buy your product. And I told you that. I said, that's not at all. If nobody sees the blowout, I see it, and I got the hair wash and I feel great about it. But I also know that the essence of the acceptance and who I am is able to hold space and be there as well. And that's important. And I'd love for you to maybe speak to our audience a little bit about the place of, working with people on physical appearance and knowing how attached people can get to their hair and their physical appearance. What's your thought, being a woman, being in the industry of really helping people look beautiful and feel beautiful, that you want to really speak to in the personal development world around what we're putting out there as women in trying to communicate with our looks? And I know you're probably looking at me going, you didn't tell me you were going to talk about that, Yedda. But it's coming to mind as I sit here and think about the value you would give me in your own coaching and wisdom in the chair around. And I remember this one example, and then Robin's here today behind the camera, and I came to you and I filmed my overview intro video for my website. And there's a whole story behind that, and it didn't go at all the way I planned. Everything about that changed. Robin was there, and I came to Stephanie and I said, hey, I'm going to send you some links. Can you check out a couple of options we put together for a video? And you knew all the things I was trying to check the box on. I didn't need the bathroom selfie. I wasn't trying to show my cleat. Like, all these things were like off the table. But even I felt uncomfortable doing something that was radically different, that said, can you connect with my humanity and my gratitude on this video? And I asked you, could you watch it and give me your feedback, which you did. And so I'm going to give you space to speak about that in two ways and anything else, but where we're at as women. And when you watched that video, what was different about that versus what you see on traditional marketing for women in personal development?
Well, as a caveat, before I answer that question, one of the celebrities that I follow on Instagram just posted a couple of reels about a woman who is single making dinner for herself as written by a man and as written by a woman. And as written by a man, she's, just floating around her kitchen and knows her angles and is eating her salad very sumptuously and, and it's all just very like wind blowing kind of a thing. And then as written by a woman, she's in her pajamas. She's eating like half a watermelon, like on her counter, and it's just real.
Yeah.
And I think that's the difference in the imagery that we are being presented. Mm-hmm. People, I love who the Kardashians are. They are unashamedly themselves. But that is not...
And it's their full-time job.
It's their full-time job to be that way.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that is not a representation of the rest of us.
Yeah.
And you can buy all of their products, their makeup, their underwear, all the products that they're selling.
You're still not going to look like them. I promise you.
Because it's a cultivated image.
Yeah.
And, that's a lot of maintenance and upkeep. You come to get your hair 2 times a week done, just a blowout. They're getting it done daily.
Yeah.
Makeup.
Wait, is that an option to come see you daily, Stephanie?
5 days a week, yes.
Oh, we're on to something different, you guys. Yeah. 5 days a week. I don't know.
That would require a subscription plan, I'm sure. But it's a cultivated image. Yeah. And, we all cultivate our image in a different way. I'm sitting here today with a full face of makeup on, my hair done and down. And when Yedda sees me at the salon, I don't look that way.
When you walked in today, I was like, girl, what are you here for? I was like, Stephanie.
Literally glowing. There's so much makeup on my face.
I love it. But you're always glowing.
But I'm always glowing because I get hot when I do my work. My hair needs to be out of my face. It's practical.
Yeah.
Does that mean I don't care about my appearance? No. It means that I've cultivated my appearance for that audience and for my needs in that day. And so on different days when I don't have that same set of needs, I can cultivate my appearance into a different way. And that's the difference of what we're being presented. And in the social media sphere and in advertisements, we're receiving a cultivated appearance for that specific moment in their life.
Yeah.
You know, advertisements, you know, for mascara, read the disclaimer at the bottom of the advertisement, you know, false lashes were used, you know? And so I'm appreciative of influencers and celebrities who are out there to kind of bring us back to reality and to talk about the things that aren't, you know, just glowing reviews of our day-to-day life, because that's not real.
Yeah.
You know, I don't want us to live in negativity and cynicism, but being real is so much more important for me to teach my clients.
Yeah.
That's what I want to impart to the women and men who sit in my chair. It's not about perfection.
Yeah.
It's about being comfortable in your own skin. I mean, just the other day, I had one of my clients in my chair, and she was in my chair about a week and a half earlier than normal to get her color touched up. And she's like, oh God, it looks horrendous. And I said, it doesn't. I said, you fixate on it, but literally no one else is looking at your roots.
Yeah.
You know, you've got a centimeter of roots, and think about the last time you looked at a girlfriend or another female who hadn't had her roots done, and you thought to yourself, girl, go get your roots done. That looks terrible. I was like, how bad was it? And she's like, oh, they had like this much roots. And I'm like, yeah.
Yeah.
So we're not, you know, we're fixating on our flaws in a way that no one else is. Yeah. And I just want to break that stronghold on people, and women especially, that we have to be perfect and on all the time. Yeah. It's unrealistic. It's exhausting.
I was going to say it's exhausting.
It's exhausting.
And you and I know in the chair, and we've talked about this, is and I said this, I'm like, you know, we just need to Kim Kardashian our souls.
Yes.
Like, why don't we put some bling on the inside and go within and do the work and do it there, and then allow who we are to come out into the world. And we aren't perfect. And you're making me think about something. We spend a lot of time, Stephanie and I do, talking about being real, and you know, and I've had a lot of conversations with her about marketing and, you know, my social media posts and my videos and the content and just all of these things, to hear a different person's perspective than my own egos. And I have people like Robin and a lot of people that support and create the image and all of the communication, but they're all putting the work in the work. There is a mindful, thoughtful on all aspects of what we create and communicate in this whole work that to me is important, that you use the word real. It's got to be real. And if we could bring that authenticity, that realness out into the world, everybody's welcome. And we all look different. None of us look exactly the same, I guess, unless you have a twin, but I don't. And so you don't, we don't. So what would that look like to walk out into a world that just says, I appreciate who you really are, and I see past whatever is here, whatever's here, to your humanity. Yeah. And to me, that's why I have the whole spiritual aspect is in the book. I talk about mind, body, spirit. You can interchange the word soul. You and I get into a lot of conversations around faith, around spirit, soul, the deeper connection of who we are. Yep. And we're looking for that in ourselves, but also in each other.
Yes.
And so there is a spiritual component to my work that allows for that realness, that says, you know, I'm not in the industry of perfection. And I read something recently, they're talking about, we were just finishing up the Olympics as we record this, that somebody said, you know, it was a Caucasian male, and I'm just naming that because we all have different belief systems, who talked about an African-American female, and said, and I want to be really clear. So I know I have friends who want to be African-American and some are black. So she was a minority. So black, female, African-American, whichever one you relate to. I think it's important that I, as my own biases, bring that out and say, he was writing an article and he was talking about Simone Biles, and he said, flawed is the new perfect. And it just hit me. And I went, no, flawed is not the new perfect. That is not that's the language that somebody would use who doesn't know what being imperfect and perfect looks like from the perspective for us as women. And I wasn't ugly about it, but I very kindly and very compassionately responded. And I said, actually, I would like to invite you to use a different language and use different narrative. And maybe we talk about cultivating that I'm enough and she's enough and we're all enough exactly right here in this moment as we are,
Amen.
Instead of going into, well, if we all admit we're flawed, then that means we're perfect. No, that's the actual opposite. So now we don't want to go from the Kim Kardashian world to the everybody's at home, without their bra on and no makeup and, living their life as sloths. No, that's not the message either. The message is, I'm enough. And when I admit to you that I am enough in this moment to say, I am not going to do this, or I'm going to take care of myself, that's enoughness at play.
Absolutely.
That's the ability to say, I'm grateful that where I'm at is enough. And it's not about getting wrapped up in another identity of, oh, well, now let me vomit all my imperfections all over the world. That's not what we're asking either.
Right.
So there's that balance there. And you've been a great mentor and somebody that helped me just bounce that off in the chair and on an ongoing basis to really talk to you in a lot of ways about how's this perceived? What would you want to hear and know? And as you look from the outside in on some of this and have done the work, where does that fall for you? And I am proud to say that I'm not nailing it 100% because I know I'm still learning, but at least what we're creating in this is, I don't want people to look at this work and see me. I want people to look at this work and see themselves.
Yes.
And that's a place of gratitude that I appreciate all the people in my life that keep helping me to come back to that and
Right.
come back over and over again. And actually we filmed a video last week and I walked into Stephanie to get my hair done and I had this little jacket thing on with the dress and I was like, what do you think? And you were like, no, no, don't wear it. And I had brought another one and I'm like, well, what about this one? And you were like, yes.
Yeah.
And so we need each other. And I was so grateful for your wisdom because you see what I don't see.
Right.
Just like I see what other people don't see. And I think that's a form of gratitude.
Absolutely. And to state the obvious, any woman can wear anything that she deems appropriate for herself. I have zero problems with that. What I don't like is when you're trying to create an image to get something.
Yeah.
And, there's a reason behind every choice that we make as women, but it's that it's just not real.
Yeah.
Be who you really are.
Yeah.
Be comfortable in who you really are. I'm a plus size woman, and in my industry, when I was coming into this industry 15 years ago, I didn't know if there was enough space for me. Because when I thought of the beauty industry, I thought beautiful model types, wearing high heels every single day to work, dressing up, not being able to be comfortable. And I spent years miserable because as anybody who's plus size knows, it's hard to find good quality fitting clothes that are affordable and that make you feel good. Mm-hmm. And so for probably the first 8 years of my career, I was just uncomfortable in almost everything that I bought and wore because I was trying to achieve a certain look that I thought was going to help make space for me. And when I came to the salon that I'm currently at, it was like I got to have a rest from that because they had a different mindset. Mm-hmm. And I walked into that salon on day one and just felt the difference. And it felt like I could take a deep breath for the first time in years. And, so I've carefully cultivated my image over these past 7 years with them to be more comfortable, to be like happy in my own skin.
And that kind of beauty is the kind that you can't go by.
Exactly. And at 39 years old, I feel probably the most beautiful that I've ever felt in my entire life. And am I at my lowest weight ever? Nope. Am I, the most perfect, pristine, my makeup never sweats off kind of girl? Nope. But I feel so confident in who I am, who God has made me to be, the people that I've surrounded myself with, the clientele that I've been able to create in this last 7 years has just, I'm at a place in my career right now, which is kind of peak for me.
Yeah.
I'm so excited about what I've got going on in the future. I'm excited about where I'm at. And I'm so grateful to come back to why we're here today.
Yeah.
I'm so grateful for the people that God has put in my life for such a time as this to bring me to this place of ultimate gratitude, where I can look at every single one of my clients and go, wow, that person has been with me 2.5 years, like you, 10 years for some. And every single person in between, whether I saw them once or 100 times. It is so life-changing what I've been able to achieve in my career at this point. And, without that real fresh experience this year specifically, because perspective is 2020.
Yeah. Literally.
Literally. Perspective is 2020. And it has made me so grateful, and I'm more tired than ever. My back hurts more than ever, but I see things for what they really are now.
Yeah.
And how we put that out into the world is so important. And when you are at peace and when you are doing the work on yourself, it just flows out of your cup like a spring.
Yeah. And people know that. And I see that about you. And I really appreciate and I'm grateful that you are able to share from that really sacred space inside of yourself on showing up and really, and people pick up on that. And I have this quote on my website and you've probably seen it is, if you haven't, you all can check it out. But on my Connect page, I have an Audrey Hepburn quote. I actually keep it framed on my bedside table. And I used to have to tell you all this real quick. I used to have a picture of Jeff and I on his side of when he comes over on his bedside table. And I thought, I'm going to change that. I took the picture down because it was one where I thought, we look great. We look perfect. And I took it down and I put an Audrey Hepburn quote up. So I thought the next time, I wonder if he's going to mention, babe, what's the quote? Where's the picture? And Audrey Hepburn said that a woman's true beauty is reflected in her soul. And that's now in that spot. Funny enough, he hasn't mentioned anything about it. So there's a subliminal, like the beauty is in the soul, turn out the lights. But no, it's a space for us to come back home to that's the true work. That's what I talk about. Richard Rohr, one of my favorite writers, and some of his work is in here in my book, is he talks about the immortal diamond. It's really why my brand has that look and feel. And we talked about this, like the Tiffany, and those of you all that, you've seen, it's teal and black. And I said this to you, I said, as we were working from the Spiral Bound book into creating this one, and I said, Stephanie, I want people to feel like they're shopping for the most exquisite, most incredible, rich, beautiful jewel of their life. It's like going into Tiffany's and being able to buy anything you want. But what you're buying is you're buying you. And what you're getting, that immortal diamond, that precious thing, is the deepest, most sacred space inside of all of us as human beings that doesn't have a physical, literal, like we don't pull that out and show somebody, but it has a radiance. That's why they talk about your immortal diamond is your soul. It shines. Your soul shines every time I walk in and see you. And I feel that, and that impacts people. And that is gratitude at work. And as much as I wanted to go around the wheel and kind of pull out a couple of these, you'll just have to go to the book. And if you don't have a copy, you have to get it. If you want to go on the online course, we have a visual in here. It's a really cool circle. And there's a great artist and lady who we give credit to. And so she created this beautiful visual of 20 ways to practice gratitude. So if you haven't heard enough ways to practice gratitude from Stephanie today, you can read more about that. But, I've gotten so many nuggets of how to practice gratitude and listening to your story, being in your presence, and yes, I'm gonna be vain. I am super grateful that you know how to work that round brush.
Thank you, Paul Mitchell, the school in Northern Virginia,
Shout
for
out.
teaching us how to blow dry hair.
Yeah, because it matters. So, you mentioned before we wrap up that you're kind of at the peak of your career, and I was thinking, well, girl, when people hear and see this, they will be coming. They will be like, Steph, where is Stephanie? So you might be going a little bit further up on the mountaintop.
We'll see.
Who knows where you're going? But all I know is I'm going with you. And not that there's a Kim Kardashian lifestyle ahead for me. However, if I won the lottery or came into massive amounts of money, I have said this all along, I will be paying you to style my hair every single day. So if that comes and we are graced and blessed with that, you are first on my list, my friend. And because I also just love hanging out with you and I love your wisdom, and not only because you help me make me look good.
You make my job easy. Let's just say that much.
Oh,
you have beautiful
sweet
hair and a beautiful person underneath all that hair. And I just thank you so much for this opportunity to come and talk and chit chat without breaking a sweat on my part. And just really the experience of getting to know you in this work over the last 2.5 years is mind-blowing. And, I think it's set me up for the next 15 years of my career to do and experience different things.
Yeah.
And I'm just so excited for you and your work and the foundation that you're laying in Mindfulness Bar and in Shut Up and Sit and all your future works that I know are roiling around inside of you, because you've changed my life in 2 appointments a week for a couple of years now. And if you do this work, if you read these books, take them to heart, fill in the blanks, get up a fresh notebook and fill in the journal, go through it again and again. And I told Yedda this when she gave me the copy. I said, I want a blank notebook to write through this, because this is a text you're going to come back to.
You're like, I don't want to mess up.
I don't want to mess it up, because I don't want to taint future me going back through this and reading what I wrote last time. So that's my advice, is get a fresh journal, go through it clean every single time. And if you already marked up yours, buy another one so that you can go through it clean in the future, because there's always more to learn. And because of its practical application in many of these chapters, it's continuous.
Yeah, it really is a journey. Yeah, it's like shopping. We keep doing it, right? We keep showing up, we shop a little bit.
You don't turn the last page and it's over and you've checked the box and you've got the gold star.
Yeah,
it's flip it back over and start on page 1 again.
Yeah. Well, this has been so much fun for us to be in different chairs and actually face each other this time to have an entire conversation. When I started the episode, before we started, I was like, so Stephanie, we're going to go for about 45 minutes or so. And she's like, and your problem is what? We do that how many times a week, Yedda? So it's all good. And so no matter where you are, if you're shutting up and sitting, if it's in your therapist chair like me, or if you're doing it in lots of other ways in your life, gratitude is in and all around us at all times. And I really want you all to hear, we all have wisdom. Every single person we interact with, if we can show up with that gratitude to hold space to say, I am here to learn and listen and impart your wisdom into my life and vice versa, we become a very, really, I would say, a culture of equality, a culture of connection, of kindness, of compassion, and most importantly, of gratitude. And that's my wholehearted wish for the world, for this work, for you all listening. And no fear, yes, we're going to turn the page, and this might be the end of the chapter and the end of the book. However, we are coming back with another episode. And on our next episode, I'm going to have Jason Redman here, very good friend of mine that I helped him with early on the Overcome Academy, who was a Navy SEAL, who was a wounded warrior, who is doing some amazing things in the world and is taking this whole overcome mindset and all this shut up and sit work and all these components that you all have been following along with us every episode and on the course and on the show. But he's really going to come in and just take you guys to a whole new level of how important this work is to go within and to stay the course, as Stephanie said, keep showing up, keep shutting up, keep sitting wherever you are to do the work, because there is a point, and you'll hear from Jason as he comes to talk to us about the standing up and the speaking and the leading and going out into the world and taking all of what you've learned and actually doing things in the world differently that will bring more gratitude to everyone and everything in your life. So Stephanie, thank you so much. I was going to ask you for your parting words of wisdom, but you dropped them before I even had to ask, because that's just how we roll. So you'll get her link. Don't worry. You'll be able to hook up with Stephanie, get a beautiful blowout, and I'll put that on the online course, and we'll share that on the show notes. But thank you so much, Stephanie, again for coming in. And thank you all for watching and listening and learning. And we are going to close this one up with hearts full of gratitude. And we'll see you on the next episode. And until then, have a great day.
May you know goodness, may you know peace, may you know contentment, may you be